That's Dr. Yaya.
Hey, what's going on? What's going on? I affirm that all is well with you, that everything is great with you, and that every lesson that you needed to learn, you learned it today, made you a better person, right? And every bit of encouragement that you needed to inspire you, that you got it as well. It's good to see you, Vet. How you doing, Chris? This is going to be a tough discussion tonight. This is going to be this right here. We are going to get into the weeds. We are going to how can I say, we're going to think, right? We're going to put we're going to be some critical thinkers tonight. We're going to be critical thinkers. We're not going to allow people to tell us what to think, but we are going to move into this area with our own set of views, commonalities, and things like that. This is a nice topic. This is a hot topic too. This is a hot topic because most people don't want to talk about things like this. So I'm looking forward to it. I don't even know if I can give you 30 minutes. I may go over. I know the past few times I have gone over, but it's certainly good to see you all. I thank you for your love and your support and just spending this time with me. So we're going to get right into it because I'm just really excited about it. You know, they say there's certain discussions that people don't like. They don't like to talk about politics. They don't like to talk about religion. I think they don't like to talk about sex because it makes them feel uncomfortable. And when we talk about sex, we talk about the fetish part of it. You know, people think everybody is doing it missionary, right? So some people just don't want to discuss those things. So tonight we are going to take on an uncomfortable topic. And someone asked me, they say, you know, why are atheists so misunderstood? Why are atheists just treated so poorly? And we're going to get into that tonight. We're going to get into why this is such a hot issue for people, a hot issue for people. And in most cases, it's because of our own personal thoughts and our own personal beliefs and our own personal ways that we view things as to why this is such a hot topic. But what I like to do before we discuss any topic is we like to lay a foundation over here, right? We like to lay a foundation because we want people to get an understanding of the words that are used and not just something they think a word means, but what a word actually means. So I like to lay a foundation for people to understand what we're going to discuss. So we're going to get into it. We're going to get active. We're going to start thinking, and we're going to consider some things along the way. Okay. So the topic tonight is why the atheist is misunderstood. So let's talk about what an atheist is first. An atheist is a person who does not believe in the existence of a God or any gods. Okay. Not to be confused with an agnostic. An agnostic is a person who believes that there is no way of knowing if God does or does not exist, right? So those are two different things. Two different things. The atheist totally does not believe that God exists or any God exists. And the agnostic says that there's no way that you can possibly tell if God exists. And then we have other, religious people who say that he absolutely does. Now, this is a big issue. Why? And the issue is this. There are laws, and what we call this professionally when somebody hates atheists, it's called secular phobia. People have an irrational fear of atheists. Okay? It's called secular phobia. And the reason why this is such a hot topic is because there are laws against against people who hate you because of your color. There are laws against people who hate you because of your sexual orientation, but there is no law against discriminating against people who are atheists. There's no law. I know it's interesting, right? There's no law against that. And so let's consider this. In 7 states, okay? In 7 states, they can stop you from holding public office because you're an atheist. Isn't that something? They can also stop people from adopting children because they are atheists. Now, I don't think it's right, but that's just to give you a little bit of knowledge as we dig deep into atheists being misunderstood. Okay, so we're going to keep that in mind. So the first thing we want to consider when we consider why people, especially people of the United States, why they have such this hatred, and that's what we're going to call it, this hatred, irrational fear of atheists, because we know the definition of an atheist. And the reason why is because most people, based on their own beliefs, most people believe that atheists have no morals or no morality. That's what they believe. Now let's consider that. Let's look at the definition of morals. It's a person's standards of behavior or beliefs concerning what is and what is not acceptable for them to do. Right and wrong, good and evil, things like that. Right? So most people think because an atheist does not believe in God, that they apparently have no morals. Like it really does not matter what they do. People actually think like this. People actually think like this. Is that rational? Absolutely not. Is it true? Certainly not. It's certainly not true. And we know it not to be true because we understand that even Christians commit crimes. Even Christians and Muslims and people who hold a certain religious value, we understand that they commit crimes as well, that their behavior is not deemed what it should be, right? We're just laying this foundation right now to say, let's look at both of these before we go a little bit deeper. So the main reason why people have a problem with people who are not religious is because they think they have no moral code. And we know that not to be true. Because we know that morality you just don't get from religion. You don't get your morality from religion. I know a lot of people who are religious would disagree with that. But again, we're being critical thinkers tonight. Because if that were the case, Adolf Hitler, he was a devout Christian, didn't miss a Sunday service, had Bible study going on when he was in the midst of killing Jews. So we understand that that has nothing at all to do with what you believe. Idi Amin, the same way, devout Muslim. So we understand that that has absolutely nothing to do with what you believe. Okay? So to be clear, but that is one reason why the atheist is misunderstood, because they feel like, oh, they don't have any moral code. And we just debunk that fact that that is not absolutely true. Okay? So since we understand that, let's look at some statistics that a lot of people don't know. The majority of Americans who identify as atheists has increased in the past 10 years. It has increased in the past 10 years that people who identify as atheists, that has increased in the past 10 years. And it's increased because they say people are outgrowing what they deem, or should I say, the pressures of religious organization. Now, you cannot put atheists as a monolith. Atheists are not all one block. They are not the same. You have black atheists, white atheists, short atheists, tall atheists. You have atheists who don't believe in an organizational God as it pertains to religion. And then you have atheists who just don't believe at all. And let me explain that. There are some people who will say, I'm an atheist, but I'm spiritual, right? You have some atheists who say, I don't believe in the God of any religion, but I believe that there's a creator out there. Okay. I would say that they're agnostic more so than atheists, but this is what they say. This is how they declare these things in their lives. There are more atheists outside of the United States than in the United States. So let's consider that. Atheists are mostly men. Okay. Let's consider that. So we have all this foundational stuff. Let's talk about it. Atheists say religion is not very important when you're trying to live your life. Religion is not important. And the reason why, wait a minute, the reason why most say that it is not important is because your life should be governed on how you deal with people on an individual basis. So a lot of people don't know how to deal with the atheist, because if I cannot manipulate you with religion, then there's not much that I can do. I know we don't like to hear that. We don't like to hear that, because we like to feel comfortable, and we like to have this thing where, listen, all you need is just to have a certain way of thinking. But not so with the atheist. The atheist is saying, listen, I don't need my successes to be credited to a God, and I don't need my failures to be blamed on a devil. I just want to live my life. That's all I want to do. I want to live my life. People don't understand that. If you have a foundation of religion and you've been taught that from your childhood, you won't understand the atheist, and you'll think something is wrong with them, when actually something could be wrong with you. And I'm going to give you this story, right? Personal story right here, which I can totally identify with. I was in the church for a long time. Grew up in the church. I was in the church for a very, very long time. I was a leader in the church without going into any further detail. And that's just where I was. Everyone loved Yaya. Oh, Yaya's wonderful. Oh, Yaya. Oh, we love you. We love you. We love you. As soon as I got in my 30s and said, I am no longer a believer. As soon as I said that, as soon as I said, I'm good. As soon as I told the truth and said, since I was 8 years old, I wasn't really a believer, but I was so afraid of what people would think about me, I just went along with it. As soon as I said, I don't want to do it anymore. It makes me feel uncomfortable for me to do something that I don't believe in. I have to be true to myself. As soon as I said that, I was talked about. I was shunned. I was disrespected. I was told that I was going to hell, the wrath of God. I was not loved, all of these things. But this is the issue that I have. Am I not the same person that I was when I was in the church, right? Am I not the same person that I was? So this is what a lot of atheists go through, because the majority of atheists grew up in a religion. They grew up in a religion and decided this is no longer for me. I've grown. This is the place that I'm in, and this is where I desire to be. Now, I have been out of the church for a very long time now. Listen, I have not murdered anybody. I haven't stolen anything. I haven't hurt anybody's children. None of these things that people would say that atheists do. Right. Big Hill said they would call you a backslider. But see, I can't be a backslider if I never believed in the first place. And that's the thing. It's hard for people who are religious people. It's hard for them to accept the fact that you don't accept the fact that God exists. They struggle with that. They get angry about that. And so it's really more about them not being able to manipulate you into a place than it is actually about you being able to make a decision, a sound decision, as it were, for your life. That's what it's about. So the main reason the atheist is misunderstood, not so much because people think, we have no morals and no values, not so much because people think that means that we're just out here willy-nilly. We're so misunderstood because religious people can't wrap their mind around the fact that we don't need the same thing they need to allow us to be motivated, to allow us to live, to allow us to push forward, to allow us to be happy, to allow us to be strong. And they don't know how to handle that. Hell, a lot of people don't know how to handle that. People were just coming to terms with someone being gay in their family. They didn't know how to handle that. So it's one thing to have someone in your family you don't understand because you're so religious that they're gay. It's another to have someone in your family that you really don't understand. Oh my gosh, they don't believe God exists at all. What do we do? Is that an affront to me? I mean, doesn't everybody? So what they're really doing is they're measuring you by someone else's yardstick, by their yardstick. They're concerned about what their family and friends are going to think. They're concerned about what other people are going to think. But as a general rule, you say you allow people to be who they are. That is not always the case. Listen, I go out with my friends. I don't stop people from praying over dinner. That's not what I do. Now, I may not bow my head or I may not say amen, but I'm not stopping you from doing that. But because the atheist is so misunderstood, we have to be vilified at every turn. We have to be told that this is not going to work or that is not going to work. Or if something happens in our lives, we're told that's because you're not a believer, but anybody can get into a car accident, whether it's a person who believes in God that gets in a car accident or someone who doesn't. It's still a damn car accident, right? But it's the guilt that is placed upon the atheist because we don't know how to deal with you. We don't know how to talk to you. We don't know what to say to you. And that's unfortunate. You'll miss out on knowing wonderful people because you want to misunderstand the atheist instead of saying, hey, why don't you just sit down and have a talk with me about how I view things, about how I see things, about how I decide to live my life. That will never happen because people already have a wall of religion up already. I lost friends. Oh my goodness. Family members talked about me. Just a terrible thing. But I am true to who I am. I have to be true to who I am. And I'm always honest with people. When they say, oh, would you? And I live in the Bible Belt. I'm not from the Bible Belt, but I live here now. I live in the South. So when people always say, would you like to come to church? No, thank you. Would you like to come to Bible study? No, thank you. And people don't know how to handle it. But they must be met with the truth. We're a complicated group of people. I admit that. I admit that we are a complicated group of people. Because some atheists, like I stated earlier, will say they believe in some sort of higher power or spiritual force. Okay? Then there are some atheists who have a religion who say, but I don't believe in the God of this particular religion. So it's difficult, and I understand that. But to misunderstand someone or to say that they're not this type of person because of that belief is wrong. It's wrong and it's misleading based on what you believe. Chris said some atheists have a more righteous life than Christians. That's true. That is true. That is true. No argument there. But misunderstood to the point of rejection. And I understand that a lot of people who will hear this are Christians. I have a lot of family members that are Christian. I have a lot of friends who are Christians that I would not reject. I don't reject. And all I'm saying is, do not judge people based on the fact that they don't think or believe the way that you do. I understand that belief is a powerful thing. It's supposed to be, because your beliefs usually move you into your behavior. I understand that. But to judge someone based on the fact that they don't think like you, believe like you, act like you is a terrible thing. It's a terrible thing. And this discussion for me tonight just really allowed me to look at the transition of things that I have gone through personally. I was even called, now earlier we discussed what an agnostic was and what an atheist was. Now let's discuss a Satanist. I was even called a Satanist. I said, no, atheist. And they said, well, doesn't an atheist worship the devil? No. You're thinking about a Satanist, and even Satanists don't even worship the devil. Let me tell you something. If I, as an atheist, don't believe in God, I certainly don't believe in a devil, because you can't have one without the other, right? At least that's what they say. So no, that I don't believe in either one. Okay. At all. I'm not riding the fence. I was also told, there's some things that people say. I was also told, well, when you get in trouble, don't say, oh my God. I was like, why would I say that? I don't say that. These are not terms that I use. Okay. But that's what people do. That's what people do. And so, yes, as I stated earlier, this is a hot topic. And it's not only a hot topic, but it's a personal topic for me. A very personal topic. I see a lot of things where people say, well, you know, if you're not ashamed of Jesus, say amen. And people, oh, amen. Of course, those people are not ashamed, because they don't get vilified. They don't get dogged. They don't get talked about. But as soon as I say something as strong as this, do you take Jesus to be your Lord and personal Savior? And as soon as I say no, that shakes the foundation of that very fragile religion that people have, and they don't know how to deal with me. I'll tell you how to deal with me. Just accept my no. That's all. Just say, okay, girl, if if you don't want him, you don't want him. But that's not the way it happens. What happens is, well, why not? Do you know he died for you? Well, I don't agree with that, but if that's what you agree with. And then I forget that these people are supposed to have love for the brethren. Okay? The way that the way the words come flowing out next, and it's a terrible thing. It's a terrible thing. Do I understand why we're misunderstood? Yes, I do understand why the atheist is misunderstood. That is not lost on me, especially when you're surrounded by people who all believe the same thing in most cases. Absolutely. Anything that is different, people will seek to destroy. I understand it. I get it. I understand that. I understand where the rejection comes from. It comes from fear. Because if if she doesn't believe in God, then oh my goodness, what does that mean? I don't know how to handle that. Because does everything else fall out the window? So I understand that there's a fear that people have. I get it. I understand that. Is it appropriate? Is it right? Should it be done? Absolutely not. But I understand it. Because sometimes people don't understand when their ego is telling them, well, I have the right answers. I'm the one with the great things to say. I mean, I have this thing down. I can pray heaven down, and I can do like that. And I've encountered someone who doesn't need that from me, who doesn't desire that from me. I've encountered someone who says, that's all great for you, but not for me. So now I'm wounded. Why am I wounded? Because everything that I think is great in my life and wonderful, they are rejecting. And to people who are religious, if you reject their God, you are rejecting them. And that is how they feel. I get it. I understand it. But what I'm asking you to do is to pull your head out of your ass for a few moments and think about the person that you are disrespecting, that you're being mean to, and that you're judging. That's all. That's all. I'm not walking around telling people not to believe. I don't think I should be vilified and treated like dirt because I don't believe, or any other atheist does not believe. You don't have to try to convince me to believe. I'm good. And I'm sure every other atheist is well. It's okay. Here are some other statistics for you. Some people may not like this. Some people may get upset. Atheists are far more likely than religious people to be healthier and have meaningful and satisfying lives. 26% versus 10%. Right there. Big Hill said most are operating on scruples given to them by their pastor. Absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And so here comes that type of judgment that people have. Wholly not appropriate. There are some people sitting in churches, synagogues, temples, Bible studies, anywhere that they're having a religious service. Some of these people are warring with themselves about what they believe, and they can't be free because of fear. They can't be free because they're afraid of rejection. They can't be free because I'm going to lose everything if I tell them that I really, really don't believe in God. I thought like that for many years. Many years I thought like that. I thought, oh my goodness, this is going to be a terrible thing. The first time I thought it, I was 8 years old. I told my aunt, I said, I don't think God is real. And she said, don't say anything. You better never tell your mother. She said, you better keep it to yourself for as long as you live. I was like, ooh, that must be serious. That must be a hell of a thing to think or to say. And as an 8-year-old, I just wanted to say this is how I felt. So guess what I did? I did what my aunt said until I was in my 30s. My aunt said, keep it to myself. But she said for the rest of my life, as long as I live. But by the time I got to my 30s, I couldn't. I was like, I can't. This is not, I'm feeling some type of way. I can't keep doing this. I'm feeling like the fake and the phony that everybody's always talking about. I gotta be me. This is uncomfortable. So I did it. I said it. I think the only ones that really knew were my husband and my children, that I just wasn't feeling this. It wasn't anything that I wanted to continue to do. But I get it. I get it. I get that people are feeling a certain type of way. And then I get the other part where if a person is agnostic, where they just don't know, they're sitting in churches and singing in a choir and they're thinking, I don't even know if what I'm doing is doing anything. I don't know if me coming and showing up day after day to this building is actually helping me build on some type of afterlife promise. People are thinking that. People are thinking that. People are having these same feelings going on with them about, I don't know what this is. I don't know how to feel. But because they're afraid of losing everything, because they're afraid of being judged and ridiculed and shunned and just treated poorly by their family and friends, and they're afraid of losing everything. They don't say anything. So that is why it's a struggle for some. Digital Pitball says that's not what the Bible teaches. It really says to shake the dust off you and keep it pushing. Only the atheist sits around and try to focus on the Christians. Amen Ra squad. Maybe. But not all atheists are sitting around focusing on Christians. But maybe some are. This is just our discussion for tonight as to why the atheist is misunderstood. Period. This is why. And I understand, and like Chris stated earlier, I'm sorry, like Big Hill stated earlier, the majority of this has to do with what pastors have placed the burden on the people in their congregations. I get it. I understand that. Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it. But this is a conversation that needs to be had. It really is. The majority of my family members are Christians and of the Islamic faith. Then there are a couple of us who just don't believe. Yes, that's the power of indoctrination. Absolutely. Whether it was beat into you, loved into you, or said over and over again, that's the power of indoctrination. How you doing, Black Chaos? Good to see you. But when you do that, and see, even there's an issue when people tell you that they want no part of religious organizations. Even when people say that, even when people find a place for themselves in an offshoot type of religion. And understand, when I say offshoot, I'm not talking about being disrespectful. I'm saying offshoot from what we consider the main category as pertains to religion. Right? That's what I'm talking about. Even when people find themselves wanting for their own spiritual growth, wanting to do something other than the norm, they're often disrespected. They're often told that they're wrong. Why? Because the masses feel like if we all believe it, then one, it must be true. It must be right. It must be the thing to do. And number two, that means that everyone has to do it. And when you align yourself with that type of thinking, you're not open to really be a critical thinker. There's a danger in that. There's a danger in that. And again, the atheist is misunderstood because what do you use to manipulate them? Where are you going to lead them to? That's going to be a tough conversion. And so you cast them away. You throw them aside. You say, well, hell, if you don't think the way I think, then the hell with it. And that's what's done. That's what's done. But this is what I'll say. Whatever you believe, Christian, agnostic, whatever religion that you decide to hold on to, nothing in particular, atheist, right? Be true to who you are, because that's where you're going to find your meaning in life. Wherever your beliefs lie is where you find your meaning in life. I mean, hell, we have Christians who don't believe and think the same. As with any religion, right? But whatever you need to motivate you, to allow you to get up every day, to allow you to say, this is who I am and where I want to be and how I want to view my life, then you hold on to that. You hold on to that. I say all the time, I don't have a problem with people in their religion. If your religion is stopping you from hitting me in my head and taking my car, I need you to keep it. I need you to hold fast to it. If your religion is what's giving you your moral ground and foundation, you keep it. But if I tell you that I am not interested, then allow me to keep what's keeping me. And if what's keeping me is the idea that I choose not to believe that God or any God exists, let me have that. Let me have it. I'm not hurting you by having it. Let me have it. And so there's really no reason for the atheist to be misunderstood. There's no reason for that. Like I stated earlier, an atheist is just merely a person who does not believe in the existence of a God or any gods, period. That's all. There's nothing more to that definition. It doesn't say I'm coming in to kick your door down and stealing your TV, and nothing more to that definition but that. So if that is what we choose to hold on to, that's ours. That's just what it is. Point blank, period. There's no need to fight about it. It's no need to argue about it. You telling me I'm going to hell doesn't mean anything. You saying that you're being used by the devil doesn't mean anything, because my mind isn't there. If you don't have a belief in something, it doesn't affect you the way it affects other people who believe in something. If I say I believe that blue is just a terrible color, I hate the color green is better, it means nothing to the person who likes blue, because that's where they are. So instead of trying to change what people believe, why don't you just find the commonality and say, let us grow from there? You can always find your differences anywhere. Differences will always lead to disrespect. Differences will always lead to divisiveness. Differences will always lead to disruption. So if you want to move past that, then move past it. That's it. Just move past it. Sorry for the noise, you guys. I got a new water heater being installed. But I just want to share that with you. Just want to talk about that for a little bit. So glad that you came. So excited that you were here for this. And like I said, it's a tough topic. A lot of people don't want to discuss it. But not only am I willing to discuss it and have discussed it, but I'm giving you a firsthand account of what it is. And this is what it is. Again, thank you for joining me. You are loved, you are valued, and you are appreciated. I love you too, Chris. Love you guys. I'll see you on the next episode.